All right, we now welcome on Jarom Jordan. You'll see him on any BYU TV sports broadcast. Jarom, how we doing?
I'm great. And yeah, it's either myself or Spencer on almost everything, right? Which is pretty fun. I have a very fun job. I'm very excited for you, Carter, that you have a podcast and you're doing this and that I'm not the best guest you've had, which is very, very good for you.
Appreciate it. So let's get this started. If I would have told you a year ago that Zach Wilson would have been a consensus lock number 2 pick in the NFL draft, what would you have said?
I'd say, wow, he must have had a heck of a 2020 season. That's incredible. Yeah, it's been amazing, right? What he's done in just 1 year. And I was thinking about this earlier today. All it takes is one great season. Kalani Sitake told me that earlier this year. Steve Young did not have a good junior year, but had a great senior year in '83. Mark Wilson in '79. Brandon Doman in '01. These are just some of the guys. Steve Sarkisian '96. These are just some of the guys that had a great season that led to something in the pros. And in the case of 3 of those 4 quarterbacks I mentioned, they got drafted. But the fact that Zach is top 5 is a credit not only to BYU and Jeff Grimes and Roderick and Kalani Sitake. It's to Zach because we know the story of him driving to Southern California. But the way that he can throw the ball off platform, all the different angles that he can throw the ball at, his athleticism, his mind, he is definitely a top 5 guy, which is pretty awesome to watch.
So would you, if we had a different schedule, the original one we're playing Michigan State, all these Power 5 schools, do you still think he goes top 5?
No. I think he'd be end of the first or day 2 guys, second or third round, because he would have been exposed a little more. Now, that doesn't mean he's not a good or great quarterback. I think Zach's amazing. Like, you could still be a very good quarterback in the NFL, no matter what round you drafted at. Like, look at Tom Brady, of course. Look at Russell Wilson in the 4th to my Seahawks. Like, that doesn't matter as much. The opportunity is going to be given to you a little earlier if you're a higher pick, and the criticism will be higher too. Like, the danger in Zach being a top 5 pick is if it doesn't work out, we're going to remember him or not, like Rafael Araujo, 03, 8th pick, NBA draft out of BYU to the Raptors, didn't pan out. No one really talks about him. Really good college player, but I think Zach is going to have a successful pro career. I just hope it's a good fit with that team, because you could be awesome, but if you have a crappy offensive line, good luck.
If you had your choice, where's he going?
Well, Russell Wilson's still going, so not the Seahawks, I guess. Although there's been some drama there recently. Probably, I don't want to say the Niners because I don't want to root against his team, but pro Zach. But it might be the Niners. I think they're like a quality quarterback and health. They had a bunch of injuries away from going back to the Super Bowl. Like 2 years ago, they're in the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy that at times will win you a game, but he's more of a just don't turn it over, hand off, make the right play action pass on third down kind of, or second down kind of guy. If Zach Wilson was on the Niners and like could really show what he could do in the next couple of years, oh my gosh, after Jimmy G's done, they could be in the Super Bowl. Like, that could be a great fit. I like the Falcons, honestly. They have obviously some real good weapons in Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones and these guys. Offensively, O-line's fine. They have a brand new head coach, so who knows? I'm a little scared of the Jets at 2, though, Carter, because the Jets, Jets. So but Robert Saleh's good defensive coordinator, brought over Mike LaFleur with that offense. That's sort of a Niners-ish new team. Maybe it's the Jets. I don't know. I just don't want him to go to he's not going to Detroit. They got Goff. He's not going to the Bungles, obviously. They have Joe Burrow. The Washington football team, it's like, please no. I don't like that fit, but
Panthers
there's
trade
some good
up.
ones out there. They could trade up, right? Saints would be interesting. Like, are they in on Taysom Hill long term or not?
Yeah, I would be surprised if they are, if I'm being honest.
Right, they gave him a shot. He did fine, but was he good to great? Like, they played the Falcons twice.
Exactly. So we saw with BYU football this year, they had no chance, even if they went undefeated, to make a New Year's 6 game. So are we going to see BYU continue with these brutal Power 5 schedules, or try and do, how Bama does, their non-conference is playing the Citadel?
Well, Bama always plays at least one good non-con game, right? And every SEC team has that one FCS. And almost everybody has an FCS. I've been on the hill, and I'm going to die on it probably, or live on it. I'm living on it.
Mhm.
I don't know why BYU plays such hard schedule. I think there's a balance between too easy and too hard. Right now, it's too hard. Last year was probably too easy, right?
Mhm.
BYU went 11-1 and only had two games that were two games that didn't go BYU's way by a large margin. Obviously, Coastal Carolina, and then UTSA was a one-score game. You have a close game, whatever. You have a weird day. I'm in the camp of the following. I want about 3 or 4 Power Fives. I don't want them all in a row. I don't want them all on the road either. 3 or 4 quality group of fives, and then 4 to 6 winnable games. That's the model I think would be good, because BYU has to not only want to win. To me, it's like winning matters more than anything else. It just does.
Mhm.
But you also have to appease ESPN. You have to appease season ticket holders, the boosters. And so there's a delicate balance there for a guy like Tom Hummel. And now that we're going into year, 11 of independence,
Mhm.
it's hard to know exactly what it is. What is it? It's 7 Power Fives in Boise State. So I'm like, hey, 7-5, staring down the barrel of that. If BYU wins 8 or 9, awesome. I don't think this team's a 4 or 5 win team. I think they're good enough with Jaron Hall or Baylor Romney or Jacob Conover, although I never want to start a freshman quarterback. I just
Mhm.
don't. No matter how good Jacob is, it's like, can he just sit for a year and then get his chance later? Like, it was a free year last year, whatever. And he's a talented dude. But yeah, I think there's a place between what BYU's been doing and what last year was.
Mhm. So do you want them to be in a conference, or do you like independence more?
It's a good question, and we've become pretty comfortable with not being in a conference.
Mhm.
Like I assume that you're what, 18 to 22s somewhere.
20, yeah.
20. Okay, so you were like 10 or 11 when BYU went independent.
Yeah.
Like, you barely know what the Mountain West is like, right?
Those Max Hall Mountain West games.
Yeah, they were fun. And listen, it's fun to win a trophy. It's fun to win a conference. But BYU has a lot of flexibility, not only financially, more money from this than they would being in any group of 5 league.
Mhm.
You can keep all the bowl game money. That's nice, right? You can play who you want, a national schedule. BYU has this, unique brand. They want to get out and play all over the country and play different kind of teams. Yet it's fun when you play some familiar foes, but BYU still does every year, almost every year. Utah, not in 22 and 23 because of Florida, but Utah State, Boise State, and then you kind of go from there. So I, it all kind of depends what you want. And I'm not on the go back to a league thing. If
Mhm.
BYU got, like, if BYU was invited to a Power Five right now, I would take it no matter what league it was.
Yeah.
Which it's either Pac-12 or Big 12.
Mhm.
But I don't see the Pac-12 ever wanting BYU with Stanford and Cal. There's some real history there that goes back to the '60s, and yeah, it's not gonna happen. Big 12, BYU went on The Bachelor and got burned. They weren't handed the rose. No one was handed the rose a couple of years ago, and that
Mhm.
was weird and awkward. So the money's good, but BYU's in a decent spot. They just need to win more. And to
Mhm.
win, the thing you control the most in winning, to me, isn't your players and coaches. It's the schedule. In
Mhm.
fact, Mark Few said that in Joe Lenardi's new book about bracketology. He said, scheduling is probably the second biggest thing that exists in trying to win games. So I think if BYU learns from 2020, it just pulls out the belt just a little bit. I'm not saying be in 5th gear. I'm just saying, can we be in 2nd or 3rd and then win 10 games?
Mhm. So next season, what do you see BYU? What do you see them? How many wins? Maybe making a bowl game, because it looks kind of brutal for next year, right?
Yeah, 7 Power Fives in Boise State. Yeah, BYU should go to a bowl. It's not hard to make a bowl game. Like, if you don't
Mhm.
make a bowl game,
Well, this
you're not very good.
schedule, you never know.
Yeah, I see BYU going 7-5 in the regular season, going for 8 in the bowl game. If they're better than that, that'll be awesome. If they're worse than that, like, if you can't be 6-6, come on, man. Like, 80 teams go to a bowl game. 80. Like, name the random MAC team. Like, Akron's going to a bowl game. Like, can BYU please do that? Yeah. So I see it as 7-5, just because 7 Power Fives. Now, the difference with this one versus other ones is that it's a little more manageable, honestly. It's not exactly what the ones before have been, which is like, all right, we've stacked them all up the front and we're toast. Although you play 3 so let's walk through it. Arizona in Vegas,
Mhm.
absolutely winnable. Utah at home, Hopefully the streak ends. That's always a tough game. Utah always has a tremendous defense. Arizona State at home. That's a winnable game. Like BYU's on par with a mid-level Pac-12 team. Absolutely. South Florida at home. You don't think Jaron Hall and Baylor Romney are itching to play that game after 2019? At Utah State. Utah State stinks right now. Come on. New coach, right? Boise State at home. It's not going to go like it did last year, but that's always a fun game, right? At Baylor. Oh, the Jeff Grimes, Eric Mateos Bowl, right? That's going to be a fun one. At Washington State. Mike Leach, ex Mike Leach connection up there, obviously, is now in Mississippi. Virginia at home on my birthday. Bronco Mendenhall back in the house. These are Idaho State, FCS, off. I should mention Idaho State live on BYU TV, of course, probably. At Georgia Southern, winnable game. At USC. USC is the only one where I'm like, that's going to be tougher. And Utah. Those two, I'm like, okay, those are real tough. The other ones, all winnable. Doesn't mean BYU is going to win all of them, but there's not a game where I'm like, yeah, BYU is going to get blown out at Baylor. No, I don't believe that. BYU beat USC a couple years ago as well in Provo.
All right, let's switch over to BYU basketball. So who knows what's going to go on with all this COVID stuff? Is BYU going to play in the West Coast Conference Tournament?
It's a good question, and you're firing like all the right questions, by the way. Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
But now there was a conversation, columnist out of Portland that probably spoke to Gonzaga, and Gonzaga spoke on behalf of BYU a little bit there, saying, "Oh yeah, we've been talking to BYU." I don't think that anyone from BYU has said that. I think that's definitely a Gonzaga thing. In fact, I'd be surprised if Gonzaga goes to Vegas. I don't see why they should. They don't need to. Why? What? So they can beat everyone by 20? Like, who cares? But with BYU, I think if BYU wins out in the regular season, that should be a conversation the Cougars have, because if Gonzaga pulls out, I kind of want BYU to win that tourney, because they haven't won a conference tournament since 2001 when UNLV was ineligible. So it was a similar situation, and BYU just doesn't win tournament titles. Like, BYU is terrible in conference tournaments. Like, it doesn't win it, which is shocking, because BYU's been a good basketball program over the years. So I'd want BYU to go, but I think there's a chance.
Is it worth it? Is it worth the risk?
Depends what and BYU is I can't say this for sure, but I think BYU is the only team in the league that hasn't had a COVID issue. So do you risk that? Yeah. Depends what you want. Like, if BYU's like, listen, this will help us get a better seed, or maybe BYU's like, no, we're firmly like an 8. Right. Which, by the way, I hate 8-9.
Yeah, you don't want to be an 8-9 too.
I'd rather be 10, 11, or 12. So if BYU went, they lost, and they were 12, I'd be like, good job. You're not an 8-9. But maybe BYU wins it and gets to a 7. Like, I don't know.
Do you see any chance BYU makes the second weekend of the tournament?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. BYU is tough defensively, rebounds really well. At times has been able to make 3. Obviously, it's not last year. It just doesn't. BYU doesn't have the guard line it did last year. But I think BYU's got a shot, especially because that first round matchup is going to be a 50-50-ish kind of game. It's not going to be, BYU's like 8-point dog to whoever.
But the problem is, if it's the 8-9, if they're in the 8-9 game, they're essentially playing. They could play Baylor. I don't see BYU beating Baylor.
Oh, you're saying through the second round, not to the second round.
No, to the second weekend.
Oh, the second weekend. Sorry,
yeah,
I thought you
Sweet
meant
16.
round.
No, I think they can win that first game.
Okay, if BYU's in 8-9, it's going to be tough. But here's the situation, though. BYU will have played Gonzaga twice and had a taste. And now, if it's not Baylor and it's not Gonzaga, then maybe BYU's got a shot, right? I think if it's one of those two, it's going to be really difficult. But if it's somebody else, hey, maybe listen. We've seen crazy things in that tournament, and BYU defensively can match up with almost anybody. BYU's got quickness, they've got rebounding, they've got the height. They just need to make some threes.
So we saw BYU win 80-52 against Pacific last night. I think this is a testament to Mark Pope. Is it strange this team is it's going to finish with a better record than last year's?
No, because I don't think the strength of schedule was as tough this year as last year. Going to Maui was tough, but yeah, you kind of look at it and go, man, they made this out of nothing. If you looked at last year, and you probably thought, oh, rebuild, dude. No, this has been reload, which is a credit to Mark Pope and his staff. And as long as he's here, BYU is going to recruit well, which is awesome. And right now, as we sit here on, in February, there's going to be a transfer or two that go to BYU that we don't have on our radar right now, just because I've joked it's the transfer nation of BYU, where there's going to be these good dudes that show up. Because look at the staff, by the way. So you had Mark Pope and Chris Burgess both went to Duke and Washington, and then they transferred to Utah and Kentucky. They know that you can transfer and have a great existence somewhere else. They sell that.
Mm-hmm.
And now BYU, like blind resume. You got a kid from Gonzaga, Arizona, Purdue, Cal, Utah, Oklahoma State. That sounds pretty nice, right? That's what it is.
So what has to happen for BYU to make that second weekend? Like, is someone going to have to step up, or what's going to have to happen?
It depends on the matchup, but I don't see how you advance and shoot the three just in a mediocre way. I think you'd have to have one of those good nights from Alex Barcelo, Brandon Averett, Trevin Nell. Hey, Caleb Lohner.
Yeah, he looked great.
5 of 6. How about that, man? We talked to him today on BYU Sports Station, and I asked him, how'd you keep your confidence after starting 0 for 12? And he said, I started 0 for 12. Who cares? Who cares? He just like has a great attitude about it, So it's like life lesson there, man. Hey, you made a mistake or two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who cares? Like, get after it, be better. So who knows? I really like the fact that BYU is deep. BYU has good rebounding defense. The only thing I don't like about BYU is its inability to shoot the three consistently,
Mm-hmm.
and like for volume in a game where it's like, if BYU has to win by winning the three, I don't feel good about that. That's my only knock on this team right now.
Has Matt Arms been disappointing for you?
No. I didn't expect him to be like a 20-10 guy. I think that
before you go, because I think a lot of people were expecting him to be 20-10 exactly.
Yeah, he wasn't that guy at Purdue. He wasn't close to that. I don't like. Yeah, I didn't see that. And frankly, he was like a 4 rebounds a game guy at Purdue. He wasn't a good rebounder. I wouldn't say rebounding is one of his strengths, but he changes shots. He just does. If he doesn't get a block, but the shot is missed and he contests it, that doesn't show up in the box score. And that's what he accounts for. Like, layups at the rim are harder to come by when Matt Harms is in the game. He also runs an excellent pick and roll offensively. Yes, his numbers aren't exactly what you want them to be, but riddle me this. BYU's sitting as an NCAA tournament team, and they would not be without him. He is a big part of this. And, yeah, if you expected 20-10, sure, you're disappointed, but to expect 20-10 was a miscalculation from the beginning. I was hoping for him to be like a 12-7 guy and 2 blocks. And the fact that BYU goes 10 deep, that affects those numbers. Like his per 40 is probably fine, but he's probably playing about 25 minutes a game.
So what's this team going to look like next year? Who do you think leaves and who do you think stays?
I think the 3 seniors are all gone. Matt Harms basically said as much. Brandon Averett's, I bet he's out. And I bet Alex Barcelo is out. So it's going to be definitely a new look team. BYU needs to find a point guard. But BYU's got some exciting talent coming back off missions and some freshmen. So it's going to be different. But here's the thing. I may not know exactly who's going to do what next year. But if Mark Pope's the coach, he's going to figure it out. It's going to work. Like, I just have the utmost confidence in Mark and this staff. Like, a lot of people don't understand whether the staff's really good or not. When it's not that good, I'm not going to say anything out loud because I work for BYU. But this staff is excellent. Like, they are really good. BYU's had a lot of really good assistants over the years, and that's to Dave Rose's credit and Mark Pope's credit.
If you're Alex Barcelo, though, why don't you stay?
Maybe he just has other pursuits he wants to get after, and he put in his 2 years here, and you go after that. And he's while he is a BYU guy now, not everyone grows up wanting to be here for like 5 years, and sometimes you want to just move on. And I imagine he wants to get married to his girlfriend Zoe and bounce, like she's an Arizona student, and I don't know what the situation is there, but yeah, sometimes people want to move on. Like Gavin Baxter is going to be like a junior next year or senior. He's just going to be gone. He's not going to use that next year either. He said that already. Just some guys don't want to be here forever, and there's a little more sort of antsiness associated with younger kids living now, they just want to move to the next thing. Like BYU, I went to BYU for like 4.5 years. I used my redshirt academic year. I wanted to be here, and I'm still here. Like not everyone feels the same way, right?
Yeah, no comment.
If Alex came back, I'd be ecstatic. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But all right, Jarom, thank you so much for coming on. This was great. I had a ton of fun. Hope to have you on again soon.
Oh, Carter, listen, what you're doing is awesome. Keep doing it. There's not a lot of kids your age doing this, getting into this, getting reps, talking to people that are interesting, unlike me. Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for having me on, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.